Hi, it's been a few days since I've checked in, and that's because I got my second COVID shot and it beat me the fuck up, y'all. I got all of the side effects possible in the span of about 5 or 6 hours. I had a really bad fever on top of chills, so my body did not know what was going on. I think I just had to get through that fever in order to really get over a majority of the symptoms, and once I did, I was pretty much fine for the rest of yesterday, except for the fact that I had a migraine, like a hangover migraine from the fever and whatnot. Now the day after, it's Saturday the 29th, and I'm feeling pretty good. I have a small residual headache and then a little brain fog because when you go through a lot of side effects like that, that's obviously going to happen. But I'm just really glad that it's over with, and I'm really super grateful to have gotten my second shot and be fully vaccinated. In a few weeks I will be, fully inoculated, or whatever the term is. I also wanted to document this on camera because I don't know if I've ever gotten solid proof of it before, but I have gotten some bug bites. There was a mosquito in our house when we were sleeping, but this is what happens when I get bitten by a mosquito. It's actually a lot better because I've been taking antihistamines, but it actually swelled up to out here, and it looked like I had a tumor on my arm. It was kind of funny. That's most of the updates I have. As for bookish reading updates, I finished 2 books in my post-fever mess. The first book was The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This book is a horror thriller, psychological thriller novel that follows 4 Native American men after it's called an accident at times, but it's not really an accident because they did it on purpose. I found it really interesting because I also live on occupied indigenous lands. There's a lot of superstitions about living on indigenous lands here, but one of the things that stupid tourists do all the time is they take sand from the beaches, or they take shells or rocks from the beaches, which you should really not do. It's going to bring your family and your household bad luck if you take sand or anything from the beaches in Hawaii back to the mainland or anywhere else. So it was really interesting to see how these 4 men were having their karma catch up to them, in essence. I think it was a really well written thriller. The one story I especially liked was Lewis's story because the descent into madness for him was really interesting for me. I don't know why, but I personally really enjoy those kinds of story arcs. So I really enjoyed this. Yeah, I think it was just really good, and I recommend it if you're looking for a good psychological thriller that includes indigenous themes. And then the next book that I read was something I picked up at the secondhand bookstore because I had heard good things about it, but sometime yesterday Justine from Morena Monologues messaged me and she was like, "Have you read this book?" I am sobbing because of it. That book is The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali. Yeah. I personally didn't cry over it. I definitely felt very emotional over it. It's just such a beautiful book and such a wonderful intertwined love story that doesn't have a happy ending necessarily. I mean, there are good things that happen, but it's not your typical linear love story. It's just so devastating at certain points. It was kind of like the heartbreak you felt while reading A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, but it didn't feel so exaggerated or so exacerbated because it was all on one character. It felt like there was balance between the good and the bad, and it just felt like reading a biography of a woman who has just been through a lot in her life, and some of it is not entirely her fault. I loved that it was intergenerational, and that we see that the story actually begins in the early 1900s when redacted, and then it affects everyone down all the way into the 2000s. So I just think I thought that was so beautifully done and so masterfully done. Wrapping my head around the last chapters, I was like, wow, this is what the effect one bad choice can have for generations. I just felt so soft and so heartbroken, and also just all of the emotions. I will say that the one scene that really got to me, for not really a particularly good reason, is the scene where Roya meets Walter, and the way she describes the way she feels around him is the exact same way I felt when I met my partner. And like, not to get all gushy on you guys, but sometimes it doesn't have to be like immediate, love at first sight that gets you. It can be just that sense of, oh, I'm so comfortable with this person, I feel very safe with them. That is also really powerful. And I mean, we're married now, so it works, but I just, reading that on paper, I've never been able to describe the way that I felt about my partner as soon as we met, but reading it on paper really made sense of why I just really gravitated towards him at first. So I got really sappy and emotional at that. So thank you, Justine, for kind of peer pressuring me to read this book. I loved it so much, and I highly recommend it for pretty much anyone who's looking to have a good, heart-wrenching read. Alright, and the last thing I wanted to do for this update was open some book mail. My partner said that he had gotten me something in the mail, and this is addressed to me, so I'm opening it even though he's not here at home. And I'm unboxing on camera because this is a booktube channel sometimes, and I thought, why not? Ah! It's a finished version of the EK Star Falcon. Okay, so I'm a complete idiot, and I did not buy a finished version of the EK Star Falcon while I had the chance. And I told myself, so I went on a book buying ban in April, and I told myself, okay, when The Dragon of Jinsei drops and we go to the bookstore for the first time in a month, I'm gonna buy a finished copy of the EK Star Falcon because it just feels wrong not to have finished copies of all 3 books, even though I have an arc of the second book. And lo and behold, my local Barnes & Noble did not have the second book for the first time since its release. And I was so sad, like so heartbroken, and my partner was like, does it really bother you that much that you only have an arc? And I was like, yeah, it just feels wrong for me to not have the finished copy, and I feel stupid for not having gotten it earlier. So I think I was having a really bad day the other day, and he was like, okay, I'm getting you something, it's coming in the mail in a few days, and I hope that it makes you happy retroactively. And it has, because I did not know that he was going to get me a finished copy of this, and I'm so happy. My love, if you're watching this, thank you so much. I love you so much. I'm so very, very happy with your present. Okay, if I said in the last clip that would be the last thing, I lied, because I do want to say that I'm going to pick up The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia next. I saw a tweet on Twitter, of course it was on Twitter, a tweet that said it was like a beautiful Jane Austen-esque novel, but better, and I was like, oh, I'm down for that, because I don't really vibe with Jane Austen these days, and I really vibe with Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing, so I'm really down for that. I'm super excited. I will let you guys know what I think soon, and I don't think I'll be able to read this one as quickly because the font is quite small, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get just as hooked as I did with The Stationery Shop. time, as you can see, and I'm looking mad crusty. So instead I'm just going to show you the cover of the book because the cover looks much better. But I'm 10 chapters into The Beautiful Ones, and oh boy, is this a beautiful book. It is pretty much exactly as everyone described it, but better. I mean, like, they have described it as Jane Austen, but better. And I don't know what I was expecting, but this is better than what I thought better meant. Just the writing feels very pomp and circumstance, you know, that Victorian classic period era, you know, kind of writing. But also it's not as slow paced and just gruesome with the detail that's just so unnecessary. So, you know, it's moving at like a contemporary pace, and the characters and the relationships are very interesting. And there's magic in it, which I did not, for some reason I didn't read the back blurb, I just jumped into it off of the tweets that I saw. I didn't know that there was magic, and I'm loving the magic so far. I am very into the atmosphere and the writing and the setting. It's like a fake France, I think. I can't pronounce any of the names, so that's why I think it's French. I'm really enjoying this so far. Try to read more tonight and then update you guys when I read more. Hello, it's Sunday and we had our morning drive and went out in the sun, had a big walk with Diego, and so now we're home chilling, and I've been reading The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. That whole spiel was because I'm looking a little crusty, got a big old pimple that I'm trying to hide. But yeah, I am about on page 200 of The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and I'm still really enjoying it. My favorite part is that it really does feel like a Jane Austen classic novel with the writing, the atmosphere, the setting, etc., etc., but it's not nearly as painful, which is saying a lot, especially coming from someone like me who used to love the classics. Like, that used to be my favorite genre to read, period, in a story. Like, honestly, let's be real, the classics get really fucking pretentious at a certain level. What The Beautiful Ones does is it takes all of the pretentiousness out of it, and it's not completely modern language. It's still that very elegant classic language, but it's not hard to understand in any way, and it still gets down to the nitty-gritty, you know, petty social drama that happens during this time period, which for some reason to us people today is morbidly fascinating. If you didn't know, pretty much as a woman in these societies, your entire existence depends on who you marry, and who you marry is decided on the family you were born into, and like at which order you were born into the family. So for example, if you didn't know, in Pride and Prejudice, the story follows a family, the Bennets, and they have 5 girls, and that's kind of a curse during that time, and that's why Mrs. Bennet is so hell-bent on having Jane marry Bingley, because Bingley's rich. It means good things for the Bennets if Jane marries Bingley. It means the world for Elizabeth to marry Darcy, because Darcy, if you didn't know, has like the biggest estate in the whole Pride and Prejudice universe. I don't blame Elizabeth for marrying Darcy for his big mansion. But that also brings into the pot a lot of drama concerning a woman's image and how they portray themselves, and scandals and rumors around them. So going off of the Pride and Prejudice example, because that's one that most of us are familiar with, Kitty, one of the younger sisters, not the youngest, I think she's the 4th youngest, is a pain in the ass, and she just won't stop flirting with literally anything with a dick. You know, she's always out with the military boys, she just wants to go out and flirt and do things that are scandalous and very much not good, not only for her own image, but the family's image. And she gets caught up with Wickham, who is particularly bad. This is not a spoiler, because who hasn't read Pride and Prejudice at this point? Wickham, who has a habit of getting together with younger girls. One of the younger girls he previously seduced being Darcy's little sister. And that's all very scandalous and not good, like a big conservative to do. And so a lot of the drama centered around The Beautiful Ones is this proper, you know, bringing a woman out into society and having her being courted by men, making sure she has this proper appearance. One of the main characters, Nina, is a country girl, a little bumpkin, and she's struggling with that. It all has to do with her kind of naivete being really taken advantage of by a lot of people in this book. Like, pretty much everyone in this book is taking advantage of the fact that she knows jack shit about this society. I don't know why we in the 21st century are so morbidly fascinated with this culture and society that is very much vapid and outdated and just sexist and wrong. But we are, and so I am enjoying this. I will let you guys know what I think when I finish it, but right now, honestly, marrying Luke Lamey does not sound like a bad idea. He's got business ventures, he wants to be an entrepreneur, he is like the 5th son, but he has lofty ideals to make money. I don't see, you know, maybe it's my modernistic view, but like, it doesn't seem like a bad deal. Y'all, I just finished. That was a wonderful ending. I have 2 things to backtrack on. The first thing is I rescind everything I said about Luke Lamey. He obviously was not a good match for Nina, especially considering the fact that he definitely looked down on her and was just there for the money. There was no love. But also I have to go back to the fact that I don't think I ever touched on the fact that a lot of Jane Austen's novels kind of critique the fact that this is how that society is. You can't marry for love, you marry for status or money or inheritance. When Nina has this very countryside bumpkin view of marriage and that she thinks that she can marry for love and everyone's like, girl, that is something that is often criticized in Austen literature. I loved how this ended. I loved that there was a happy ending. I loved that there was marriage for love. And I think Valerie, I don't know French man, however you pronounce the V lady's name, I think she got her comeuppance for sure. I guess I hadn't paid attention to that relationship very well because the final scene with her and her husband really made it clear why she was unhappy and kind of out to get everyone else because she was so unhappy. I guess I had missed all of the cues. But I also feel bad for her because she has only ever done things for the good of other people. She's never done things for herself. Kind of like the opposite of Nina, essentially. So she married Gaetan because her family needed her to secure money for the family. But she married this dude, he's not giving her family money. She's just miserable being a trophy wife. Karma gets Valerie in the end, so we're all good. I really enjoyed this. I think that all classics should be written like this, honestly. Like, I would pay big bucks to have Silvia Moreno Garcia rewrite a majority of the classics in this more simplistic but still dramatic and decorated sort of prose that feels like a classic but does not have the pain of a classic, you know? So I really recommend this if you're kind of into that kind of Victorian society commentary kind of thing, and just also a good like story of karma. But yeah, this surprised me. It's definitely very different from Mexican Gothic. I think the writing stays very stylistic and highbrow almost, without being pretentious, but the genres are completely different, the content is completely different. So I really appreciate that. I'm very interested to read Gods of Jaden's Shadow now, which is Silvia Moreno Garcia's adult fantasy. I think because I have a lot of footage, I'm going to end the reading vlog here. I know I only technically read one book for this vlog, but yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I had a lot of fun making reading vlogs for the month of May, the last couple of weeks. Thank you guys so much once again for tuning in. I hope you're having a lovely day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.